Matters in the marriage. Let's talk about it. Matters in the marriage. Let's talk about it. By Dr. Christiana Akede. Let's talk about it. By Dr. Christiana Akede. Let's talk about it. Matters in the marriage. Let's talk about it. Matters in the marriage. Let's talk about it.
Oh, welcome to Matters in Marriage. Thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to be with you this hour talking about marriage. You know, I love marriage, and because I love marriage, I love to see marriage succeed. We know that marriage sometimes can be complex, sometimes it can be simple, but no matter what the state your marriage is, God has a fix for it. Don't just throw up your hands in the air. Don't just say, no, I'm calling it quits. Give God the opportunity to walk through your marriage, because every marriage matters to God. Today, I have with me a precious couple. This is their second time coming on Matters in Marriage. They've shared the experience with us sometimes in 2023. It was a great time. I always go back to one of the phrases that one of the couples said, like, you have to grow with your marriage. And that has really resonated with me in a lot of areas. Today, we're going to be talking about not your mother's marriage. You're probably wondering, how did she come up with this topic?
Yes.
I think it's really interesting, and you'll be right to ask me that question. It's because looking at my own life, I discovered that for my marriage to actually work after like 37 years, there are certain things in my background I had to deal with. There are certain things that I have brought into the marriage, like my expectations, like my visions. And when I started, this thing became like a really a tough process, because my expectations was totally different from what my reality became. And I have seen couples who are going through some challenges because they cannot separate their current reality with their background, with what they saw growing up. So today we're just going to be sharing, how do you proceed with your new reality from your different background? Because that could be one of the things that is affecting your marriage. It could be one of those things that is causing this deadlock that you are experiencing. But when we talk about not your mother's marriage, we want to see from a different perspective. We want to be able to maybe give you one or two tools that can help you to navigate through your current reality and to make something beautiful out of your marriage. I have with me the Blackett once again. Thank you for coming on Matters in Marriage second time. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, Joel. I am so happy to have you with us.
Thank you for having us a second time.
Yes.
Like we said while we were talking, if we could make a difference in one person's marriage, our job would have been done here today.
Excellent,
Thank you for having us
excellent.
one time.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I truly appreciate the two of you from the very bottom of my heart. Let's begin. Not your mother's marriage.
Yes.
So, growing up, what was your upbringing like in relationship to marriage? Let me start with my sister. Household that you grew up with.
Household. So
Yeah.
let's go back. Growing up, I pretty much grew up with my grandparents in Guyana in South America. So my grandparents was my first experience for marriage for me. My grandfather's family immigrated from India to Guyana. So the story was told at he was 18. My grandmother was 13 when their families met. Now, they're East Indians, and East Indians have a culture of arranged marriages. My grandfather, his family sort of was raised when British was ruling Guyana, so they put him into the sugarcane factories to work. He had an Indian name. He had to change it to a British name, so our last name became Collins instead of what his Indian name was. And as he's working in the plantations and the sugarcane factories and stuff like that, he come across my grandmother's family, and they said, "Hey, we would like you guys to meet." And from what I understand, they were married at a very young age, 19 and 14 at the time. And out of that marriage came 11 children, including my mother. So they were the first marriage for me, because I don't recall growing up seeing my aunts and uncles getting married. Even my mom, her own marriage, when she met my dad, she had moved away to another village. And I was pretty much left with my grandparents. And I remember for my mom's marriage, one morning, I woke up and we would go and spend time with her and her new husband at the time. We would go spend time with them like every other weekend or so. My grandfather would wake up and take us to the village that she lived in now to spend time. And just one Saturday, he just woke up and he was just like, "Oh, we're going to your mom's house." And I'm like, "But it's not our weekend." And when we get there to her house where she was living, it was a wedding. She was getting married. Now, mind you, I told you my mom's side, they're East Indian, so everybody is Indian, long hair and everything. And I see my mom in a wedding dress, and her hair is as short as yours. And it's only her dad. Mind you, she have 11 brothers and sisters. Only her dad, myself, and my twin sister, and maybe I think it was like one of my little cousins was in attendance at her wedding. And I looked at her and I said, after the wedding, I said, "Mommy, why did you cut your hair?" And she explained to me a little bit. She was just like, "Well, I just wanted to cut it." And I said, "None of your family is here though. It's just granddad and me and my sister." And she was just like, "Well, we're not talking right now." So she was upset with my grandma. She didn't tell her brothers and her sisters what was going on. But it was just like a lot of tension. And I looked at her, and then in my mind, my 9-year-old mind, I'm like, today's the day you divorced your family, one, by cutting your hair off. Because that's your identity.
Gee.
That's how I identified her. So I'm like, do I want to get married? Will I have to cut my hair? Like, what would I have to do when I get married? Am I going to be still surrounded by my family? Am I going to be like her, like how her wedding was? I don't know. So I just always go back to my grandparents as my example. And, gratefully, thankfully, the Lord has blessed them with a marriage that lasted until death, do they part.
Wow.
So when my grandfather died, I think they were about 60-something years in marriage.
Wow.
And that was my first preview for marriage.
Wow.
Very interesting.
Very.
So coming from the, and that's one of the things I thought of when my wife told me what the topic was. That's one of the things I thought of. I was like, well, my conception of marriage came from a Judeo-Christian background. And the first thing I thought was, it's not, East Indian, it's not Baha'i, it's not Muslim. It's from a Judeo-Christian standpoint. And so everything I saw and everything I brought in is coming from that background. So I'm thinking, although there may be commonalities in those different backgrounds, I don't know if I could translate. It's like, Lord, help me to translate, to people who might be not of a Christian faith, what you want me to get across to them. So I cannot tell you how to leave East Indian, a marriage, because we know a lot of cultures, they arrange marriage.
Yeah.
Mine was not arranged, neither was my parents. In fact, one of the early stories was that my grandparents did not like my dad because of his skin complexion.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Right? They did not like him because of his skin complexion. Again, we have to go back to the times that we're talking about. Time and culture does matter in
marriage.
Not in marriage, but in circumspects, in your background. And in anything you look at, even if we're looking at for your Christian audience, if we're looking at the scripture and we hear a story, we got to put it in. To put it in context, we have to go back to the time and to the culture of the time. So, of course, we going all the way back again to kind of right after slavery. It's we're looking at 50, 60 years ago. But yes, my parents met in South America. Crazy enough, Guyana. And how my parents met was my grandparents had 12 kids.
Big families.
My granddad, I'm gonna try. I know time is short, so I'm gonna spit it up. My granddad, who was raised Catholic, he had a problem with the Catholic Church. So, long story short, the problem was the doctrine in the Catholic Church that said the Pope is head of all Christians and head of the church. And he did not agree with that because he was like, Christ is the head of the church. So that kind of pushed him to find an alternative. The alternative he found was the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So from his experience with his 12 kids and the other family that he met who was not Catholic, because again, the island of St. Lucia is predominantly Catholic. So that plays a part into also the early marriage thing also, because we also have that influence in there. But that said, him and his family and the other family, they started worshiping together. They started talking to other people who had issues. They started coming out of the Catholic Church and stuff like that. So the church started to grow to the point where they needed a pastor. They sent a pastor. The pastor, realizing that my grandfather has 12 kids, said, hey, let me get one of your kids to take care of my children, because he had young kids and my mom's was a little older at that point. He got moved to South America to a different ministry. He took my mom with him. My mom and my dad met. Fell in love in Guyana. So my mom comes back to St. Lucia, and granddad, he had an idea that, and the child's family was the family that he met that was not Catholic, that kind of, had him Bible studying and stuff like that. My mom, they wanted my mom to marry Brother Charles. Right? But my mom now found somebody she was in love with. So from right there, they did not even like that idea of somebody else. Then you fast forward to where they finally meet him in his dark complexion and their light complexion. So now they're wondering what's going to happen to the children. Are the children? So all these dynamics come into play, just as a background. But anyway, to move it along, they got married, and my grandparents lived 3 houses from the church and did not attend the wedding. You see what I'm saying? So their marriage started against all odds. So they knew it was them, and they had to make it work, and they had to prove everybody wrong to the point where when I remember grandma was old and there was nobody else to take care of her, they went and they got her and they brought her up here to live with them and stuff like that, and to take care of her and to make sure she had proper health care and stuff like that. It's like no hitches. But again, it was solidified under the pressure that we have to make it work against all odds. And to your audience, I'll say, if you thinking other people are gonna, you have to make your relationship work against all odds. Now, again, I'm not gonna get into situations of adultery or abuse, stuff like that. That's a different story. But there's things that's gonna come at you. There's family, there's culture, there's all these things that's gonna be thrown at you. But against all odds, you have to realize it's me, my spouse, and God in this boat.
So what I'm hearing is, in your background, you seen your grandparent, you see your parent like against all odds, like you said, they made it work. So that kind of built something on the inside of you that
Resilience.
already prepared you. Like, if in the future I'm eventually married, I have this thought behind my mind. It's gonna have to work.
It's gonna have to work.
It's gonna have to work.
I'm gonna have to make it work against
You will have to make it work.
all odds.
And that's why I think just our first conversation about marriage, when him and I decided that we were going to head that way, it just, you said to me, he said, I think we were in counseling, and you said you were hesitant because at the time, I think both of your brothers were separated from their wives, and you said you were scared because you didn't want to be in that boat. But then I said, you can't always look to them as your example. I said, what about your parents who beat the odds, like you said, that's been, going on 30, 40 years already. So I think growing up, those instincts come to mind every time you think about marriage. And I was far from marriage. He knew from day one that he wanted to get married, because like I don't remember our last conversation last time we were on the couch. I told you when we did our introductions, that was his first initial question to me, and he was just like, hi, my name is Joel, I'm looking for a wife. Are you it? And I'm just like,
Straight to the point.
Straight to the point.
I'm not dating just to be. This is not casual. This is I'm looking for something. If you're not there,
then let me know.
And you did find, because the Bible says, "Who find a good wife finds favor."
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
So, and I didn't really think about marriage like that until the question was brought to me. And now I had to make the decision, like I said earlier, would I go down the road, would I witness my mom's marriage, or what I know was solidified by my grandparents?
It is so big because they say an apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yes.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. So either we know it or not, we grow up with some belief from that we acquire from our parents.
Yes.
Yes.
Either we're cognizant of it or not. Let me ask, are there maybe one or two beliefs outside of the fact that we have to make it work, that you just believe this is something I got from my parents going into marriage? Is there one or two things that you can share? That is, this is my story. I got this from my mom. I got this from my dad. And I'm living it out.
Yes, definitely. So before I go there, right? There's a principle, you could call it a law if you want. It's called law or principle of first mention. The first time you hear something.
Yes.
Right? And how it develops over the course. Right? So again, like you said in the Bible, you would see a principle in Genesis that doesn't come to fruition till Revelation. Right? Okay. So taking that and looking at that from your early beginnings, and you're going to look at your parents' marriage, what society said, well, what church says about marriage, because we were always in church, old school. So we were in church Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We were always in church, right? So you look at family, you look at church, and then you look at the outside influences of society and how that just develop your concept of marriage. So in that model, hearing my parents now argue right?
It's a big one.
Hearing them teaching you about Christ and how Christ loved and and now hearing them argue to the point where mom is ready to throw a pot at his head, which almost missed me, which almost hit me. You're thinking, oh, this, it does not make sense. It's not registering. It's not lining up with everything else that they're trying to teach you. But it is, because now you have to learn and see how it plays out, because now you have to learn conflict resolution.
Absolutely.
As a kid, but you're not realizing it's conflict resolution.
We don't.
But you just know, okay, there's a way to bring an argument to an end peacefully. And one of the things that, based on the question now, is my dad always said is never go to bed upset. Never go to bed upset. And he said, never sleep in a different room. Always sleep in the same bed with your spouse, even if you had an argument.
He said that at our wedding. Sure enough, that's part of his speech.
That was a part of his speech at our wedding, yes. And here goes the crazy thing is, and he says, hey, even if she gives you the back, you could still work from the back.
I like that.
But at least y'all are in the same space. And if y'all are in the same space, you could resolve the thing. Then if you're completely separate and you're not in the same space, realizing that conflict is normal, conflict resolution is key. The hard conversations have to happen. If those conversations does not happen, right? If you just stay quiet or bottle it in, it's going to come out, but it's going to come out at the worst time, in the worst place.
The worst way.
In the worst way. Yes.
Probably with the worst word.
Right. So conflict resolution is definitely, that was one of the things he always says. That was one of his things.
So you never sleep in
separate beds.
room.
Nope. Never.
Not after argument.
Not after an argument.
I may choose to sleep in a separate room because I have to wake up early and I don't want to disturb her or whatever. But if there's an
Or
argument,
you're sick.
or I'm sick and I don't want her to catch it, then I might go to the guest room or something like that. But not because we argued.
Not that you argue and then the couch, one person's on the couch and another person is
Oh
in
no,
the
that
room.
has never happened in our 18 years. Never.
Beautiful.
That would be a fail.
Yeah.
And
So that's number one.
that's number one. That's one thing. How many you want?
2.
I said 2.
All right, 2. And I'm like, man, I had the mic for a while, so I didn't want to kill our time. But yeah, the number 2 thing was to be helpful around the house. To just be helpful.
So your dad, you saw your dad did that.
I saw my dad. My dad taught me how to cook. My mom taught me how to wash clothes and sew and iron. My dad taught me how to cook. My mom also chipped in. But we had, I come from a family of four boys. So, and all my mom boys, you may not like our food, but you would live. You know what I mean? So yeah, so she taught us how to cook, but it was my dad who first said, hey, let me show you how to make, and I remember the dish, how to make cook-up rice. And cook-up rice is the rice where you take the rice, of course you wash the rice, you pick out all of the, I'm dating myself, but we when our rice came in the islands, it had like little grains and sometimes there's like little rocks and stuff in there that you had to clean out. So after you clean the rice out, you put it in the pot and, you put you taste the water. Before you add the rice, you taste the water to make sure the water tastes the way you want it to. Then you add the coconut milk in the water to make sure it was right. If you want to add a little bit of curry in that water, when your water is right, your rice is going to be right. Then you add, but my dad taught me that. Then if you want to put your little bit of meat in there, make sure your meat is pre-cooked before you put it because the rice is going.
I need to stop by one day for you to cook for me.
Please.
The way you are describing it, I'm like, okay.
I'll let you talk to your wife first.
No.
Put a little bit of oil in the pan and everything like that. That was my dad. And I remember the first dish he taught me back in the islands was cook-up rice to be helpful.
this question of being helpful, how has that really helped your marriage? And what will you say to spouse, especially men? I work with some guys and I've had a lot of comments. Some say, I'm no plumber, I'm not a chef, I provide money for the house, and if she's not okay with that, then she better find another man.
Wow.
What will you say to somebody who has this type of mentality? Because I'm thinking also that probably that's what they saw growing up.
Yes, and more than likely, you're absolutely right. That's what they saw. That's what culture reinforced.
Yeah.
But again, when you look at your marriage, you cannot say what culture taught me or what this person taught me. You have to say what worked for my marriage. What is working for me and my wife and my family. And that's what you have to take. Again, going back to that that principle, it's like you have to take that and you have to expand that and make that work for you all. You know, because it's your family. The thing I would say though to men who have that concept of all I have to do is provide money. As a provider, you're not only supposed to provide money. Yes, money is important. Money answers a lot of things, but you're also supposed to provide emotional support. I would ask any man out there who says all I have to provide is money. Okay, if you find out that your wife is getting emotional support from another guy, are you cool with that? Because you don't provide that. But that has to come from somewhere. You know, if you find out that she spends most of her time on the phone talking to somebody else because you don't provide conversation, are you cool with that? Because she's gonna need to talk. And again, all the statistics are out there that women need more communication than men. You know, me and my dad, we sit there and we would watch a movie and we wouldn't say 3 words, and we're good with that. My wife and I would watch a movie and she's narrating the whole thing, and I'm just like, but we are watching the movie together. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so everything you don't provide, if all you think you have to provide is money,
somebody else is gonna provide it.
Nah, I'm just saying, are you cool with somebody else providing it because it's needed? Are you cool with somebody else providing spiritual guidance to your wife because that's needed?
Yeah.
You're the priest of your house.
Yes.
You know. Emotion. We spoke about emotional. She's upset. She's sad. Are you cool with somebody else knowing that your wife is sad before you know that your wife is sad? You know.
Yeah.
So that's how I would break it down to
beautiful. That's beautiful. 2 things.
One thing. Well, the first thing I would say I learned from my grandparents is patience. They had 11 children. Their kids around the same time. I have about 14 cousins my age. So my grandparents took all of us from our parents, and says, you guys go ahead, do what you want to do. We're going to help you raise these grandkids.
Wow.
So the number one thing that I learned from them is patience. The second thing that I learned growing up, and this is from my mom in her current marriage, is being honest. My parents my mom and dad, from looking at them, I've never seen them be dishonest with each other. It's whatever they do, whatever decisions they make, it's all in honesty. And that's one thing that I learned from them. It's being honest, being upfront. Say what it is that you want. Don't beat around the bush about it. Just say what it is that you want. If it's a situation, we'll take care of it. Just be honest about what the situation really is about, not something else.
Honesty and patience. And we do need patience in everything we do. Because even if you're driving and you decide not to be patient with the other driver on the road, there's going to be some, there'll be some situation that we don't want to see. So patient, and, in relationship, your marriage, your spouse is the closest person to you.
Should
be. That's true. Should be the closest person. And if that's the closest person to you, is the person also that you will need to extend the highest level of patience, of kindness, of respect, of love too, because you are in each other's conversation, in each other's face. There will be occasions where there's going to be disagreement, there's going to be conflicts, there's going to be joy, there's going to be misunderstanding. Marriage requires work.
Yes.
From the Blackett, we've learned 4 things. From my sister, she talks about patience and being honest and truthful. Honesty, not being deceptive, have truth. Oh, I didn't tell you this because you didn't ask me.
Right.
No, if you know that information is important for your spouse, you don't. He or she doesn't need to ask before you volunteer that information, because I've heard couples say, "Oh, I didn't tell her, I didn't tell him because she did not ask." No, no, we got to be open. We've learned also that being helpful, and being helpful is one of the five love languages.
Yes.
If that's your spouse love language, it doesn't mean that it had to be in the big things. It could be in little things. I mean, just observing, for example, you observe your spouse, you see that he or she needs help. Maybe just moving the shoe, maybe just cleaning the bedroom, maybe just, taking care of the kids, maybe just picking up dinner, picking up lunch, just being helpful. It will go a long way to help your relationship.
It would.
It would.
You can't be hands off and you expect your spouse to do everything. No, it doesn't work like that.
It sure enough doesn't. I always tell people, going back to being patient. When we first started dating, I remember maybe not even a couple of years into our relationship was when he started working like 2 jobs. So he will be gone pretty much all day, and we will only see each other like Friday when he was off. And I remember talking to one of my friends one time, and it was like, man, you're a very patient person, because I wouldn't take that. Like, you have no time for dating. You guys only talk on the phone every now and then. And you trust being with a person like that? And I'm like, yes, I love him. Because going back to my foundation, I see my grandparents being with their 11 children, raising their 14 grandchildren at the same time. The patience that they showed me equals love. And what does our Bible say? Love is what?
Patience.
And that's where our marriage came out of. I love him, so I have to be patient.
Oh, wow.
Because I know that we didn't make the decision that we're going to be in this forever. And I had to be patient at some times. I'm sure he has to be patient
Forever's
with
a
me.
long time.
Right. I'm like, well, you have to, at some point we set goals for ourselves. So in order to get to those goals, one of us had to be patient to get there. So in everything that we do, we always says our marriage is founded on God. So everything that we do, we go back to the principles. Love is patient. Love is kind. And if I don't show that in my relationship, and I already told this man, this is what I believe, what am I saying at the end of the day?
And what are we saying as Christians? It's like, if we out here expecting our marriage to resemble what a worldly marriage look like, we setting ourselves up.
Yeah.
So that was going to be my next question. I've had a phrase which says, if I see your ingredients, I can predict the outcome of what you're going to get. It's like somebody wants to bake a cake. If I see all the ingredients on the table and there's no sugar and there's no salt, I already know.
No, the cake ain't gonna be good.
But I know you're not making a cake because you don't have sugar. You're baking something.
You're baking something. I already know what. So talk to me in this new age. What will you say is some of the ingredient that the Bible, for example, lay out for a successful, lasting, loving, healthy marriage?
Again, going back to your topic, if we go back to Genesis, it says, for this reason, a man's supposed to leave his mother and father.
Yes.
So we're
We're going to get there because we're going to get to those who are not living. Where we'll have girls, what do they call it? Mama's boy and daddy's girl. Girls. We're going to get there. Yeah. So let's talk briefly about just the ingredient first.
So the ingredients, then I would have to say, would definitely be, you need to build your relationship on honesty. You need to build your relationship on love. You need to build it on patience. Just go through the fruits of the Spirit. You need to build it on kindness. But I think the most honest part, which is communication, has to be there.
Yes.
You have to, silence is not an option. If something is hurting, you have to say, there's a fable of, and I probably used it, I don't know, but I use it a lot, so you probably heard it already, where salesman, door-to-door salesman, he's walking past and he's going, and he has this dog just howling. So he finally gets to this house and he said, "Ma'am, your dog is howling." And she said, "I know." And, "Well, why is it howling so much? It's sitting on a nail." "Well, why don't it get up?" "It doesn't hurt enough yet."
Don't sit in your mess.
Don't be so comfortable in your mess that you're even comfortable to the point where complaining is just normal.
Gee.
It's like, I'm gonna sit in this mess, but I'm gonna complain about it the whole time. It's like, no, how about you just clean it up and get off the nail? So the ingredients would have to be being able to communicate, especially the hard stuff. It does not have to be an argument. I think to the point as we've grown in our 18 years of marriage, where what initially she probably could not have told me because it would get me upset, now it wouldn't even faze me. You know what I mean? I think I finally grew to that point, and that's growth in your marriage. Like you started, your opening statement is, you have to grow with your marriage. I think I've grown with my marriage to the point where, okay,
bring it on.
Bring it on. Don't. You remember the saying, "Let sleeping dogs lie"? No. Wake it up. Let's make sure it's alive. If it's sleeping, we don't know if it's alive or dead. Let's make sure it's alive. Wake that mess up. Let's deal with it. The only way is for it to work is for you to deal with those things, because again, like we said, those things are gonna come out at the wrong place and the wrong time in the wrong way. So
thank you.
The ingredients would, I would say, go back to the fruit of the Spirit and go back to the chapter on love and see love is patient, love is kind, and see not only what it is, but see what it is not. It is not pride. It is see what it is not.
So what are you gonna say to couples where one of them, because we're going back to, you shall leave your father and your mother. Actually, it's not only the man that leaves, it's the wife or both couples have to leave.
Yes.
So what do you say to couples where you are watching what is being played out and you can see this is a generational pattern? The great-grandfather went through 5 women. The mother went through 4. Another person, and now here comes this generation, and you are seeing the same pattern playing out. What do you say? What do you say to this person? What do you say to them? What do you say?
My advice would be to first, like he says, your communication in your marriage. So you're gonna go down the road, and we're gonna prioritize our communication. We're gonna learn each other wants and needs. We're going to go down the road where we're going to not look at our mother's marriage. We're not going to look at Harry's marriage. We're not going to look at Tom's marriage. We're going to focus on us. And we're going to go down the line, and we're going to say, go back to why we decided to get here. 2, we're going to communicate what is it that we want to get out of this marriage. And then the third thing I'm going to say that's very important is that we're going to be honest with each other. Like, do you see us here until death do us part, like we said? Or are we going to go with Susan's marriage and say, if I'm not happy today, I'm out?
And we see that. We see people just, why are you divorced? I wasn't happy. Well, what does that mean? What does that
Please
really
talk
mean?
about that.
Do you understand happiness is an emotion?
Yeah.
And tomorrow you're happy and today you're sad, or today I would hit my foot on the side of the door and I'll just be like, oh, I hit
But
my
we
foot.
say happiness is not important in a marriage
We're not saying
relationship.
that. We just understand that happiness is an emotion. And I feel hungry and I feel sad and I feel happy. But all these things are passing. This is not, you're taking a snapshot in a movie.
Oh, in a moment.
And you're focusing on this snapshot in this reel that is moving. 1,000 frames, but you just took this and say, I'm gonna focus on this right here.
Yeah.
And I'm not happy, so I am leaving. But if you just move the reel a little bit, everything works out. So, because I spent so much time working on this part right here, he wasn't doing XYZ, or she wasn't doing XYZ, so I got to move on. It's not working for me. I'm not happy. Again, if you're not being abused physically, mentally, emotionally, you could work on all these aspects. The Bible says if there is no adultery, divorce is not an option. So we look at adultery as even a form of abuse. So to me, it's like you could work on all these things. You could work on all these things. Break it down.
If I say I'm not happy, why are you not happy? Let me know the reason. We don't just jump to I'm getting divorced. I'm not happy, so it's not even going to work out. But why? Why are you not happy? And let's pick that part of the reel and focus on that part.
Yeah. So it's like, let's go back and let's fix that part instead of saying I'm going to quit because of that part. You understand? I'm not gonna quit because another rule or principle is I'm trying to think of the law of resistance. Right? Resistance makes things stronger. So my wife will tell you last week my shoulder was killing me because I'm doing my pull-ups and I decided I want to do 5 sets instead of my usual 2 sets. So next morning I can't move my shoulder, so I have to call my daughter to come rub daddy's shoulder, put the icy hot on it, because the
and then she rubs, she's like old people problems.
Because the law of resistance says for me to make something stronger, I have to exercise it, right?
Yeah.
So if you think your marriage, in order for it to be stronger, it should just be as smooth as possible and face no resistance. No. You do not have a strong marriage.
Yeah.
I would argue that the people with the strong marriage, the stronger marriages, are the ones that have those discussions, that do the hard work. So it's like, have the discussions.
Yeah, because I remember the whole leave and cleave when we were getting married, and we got married in St. Lucia, and they speak French Creole. And I don't speak it. My kids, don't speak it. So I remember the week of our wedding, we were sitting at his grandfather's place, and his cousin comes up to me, and they're speaking in Creole, and his cousin said to him, "Man, you're not going to teach Rhonda Creole?" And he's like, "No, because if something is wrong, we got married, something is wrong, I need to talk to my mom. She don't need to know what I'm saying." And I'm like, leave and cleave, sir.
To that principle of leave and cleave, because right now my dad is actually with us. My mom, they're up in age.
Yeah.
And to somebody who doesn't understand the first mention to how it plays out, it's like leave and cleave is they don't have the authority in your relationship. My mom came and they were both sick at the same time, and God put them in my wife put them.
I was about to say.
My wife put them in our house. But God ordained it so that she was the one who brought them in the house. Although against fighting and screaming.
It's okay.
Because I know there was gonna be 2 different styles of parenting, right? And my priority, of course, is to my wife. But again, bringing them in and having them live with us. And I quickly had to make my mom realize Rhonda is my wife, you know, I'm her husband. So, yes, I hear what you're saying, but we're going to work it out our way. You know what I mean?
That's
It's
powerful.
taking the authority, because your parents have authority over as parents, we have authority over our children. But it's, so you know what? No. This is my relationship. Your relationship worked that way. I took the good parts of your relationship, and now it's up to me to make it better. It's my time now. There's a song I heard, to chase the monsters.
That we saw.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's my time now to develop the relation based on what you showed me, the principles that you showed me. It's now my time to advance the relationship.
What about kids who don't have good positive background? What will you say to them in their relationship, in the new relationship?
And you know, for them, they journey is gonna be way different than ours.
Yeah.
But their journey is gonna be sweeter than ours in the end, because they're coming from a spot where they did not have the example. And it's like, don't figure it out on your own, but practice the rule of first principles. You know, find a relationship that you want to pattern your relationship after. I had a pastor friend who came to church one time, and he was married. He was married for a long time, and he had raised successful kids and everything. And that when I was introducing him, that's one of the things I said. Rule of first principles. If you want to know about having a good relationship, if you want to know about having raising good children, you find people who have done it. And you ask them, you interview them, find out what they did. Kind of like your audience is doing right now. They want a better relationship.
Yes.
Nobody's here watching this because they don't want their relationship to work.
No.
They're not looking for tips on how to destroy my relationship.
No. Hopefully that's all.
They are trying to improve their relationship. That's why they're here. Right? And so you find the couple like you and Pastor who've raised 3 successful kids, you know, who are still walking with the Lord and have loving relationships. You would find those couples, and you do not go and try to imitate what you don't want. You do not do that. Don't do that.
Don't do
You
it.
know, because in fact, a quick little story. I like to use stories. And you probably heard this one too about the identical twins. One ended up being a criminal and serving a life sentence. The other one, a successful businessman. And when they interviewed them, they asked the one who was the criminal, "Hey man, why did you choose a life of crime?" He said, "Well, my dad was my example." My dad was my example. And they asked the successful businessman, "Why did you choose a life of business and to be successful?" He was like, "My dad was my example." Same criminal dad, 2 different outcomes. Why? Why? Because one was looking. You find what you're looking for. You
find what you're looking
hit
for.
What in driving, how they say it, you hit what you look at. So if he was a great example to the one who became the criminal, and he was also a great example to the one who did not become a criminal.
This is the first time I'm hearing it. That's beautiful. That's
Because he
so
said
beautiful.
he looked at it and he said, I don't want to go down that path of crime. I don't want to leave that life. So everything that I do, I'm not gonna do. And it's the same thing with me. It's like I would look to my my parents' relationship for good examples. I'm looking for good examples. I know there were bad examples. I know there was the time the pot flying almost hit me. I don't want my kids to see that.
You don't want pot flying.
I don't
We
want
don't
pots
want
flying.
pots flying.
So it's look for you. Started off if you're in a single, raised by a single dad, single mom, whatever. That's not the example. Hold on to that though. There's lessons that you could learn from that.
Yeah.
To make yours the way you and God intended to be.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
beautiful.
going back to it, it's like what he said. It was my decision to have his parents live with us because one, he was the only son that was here in the circumstance to help them. And I'm like, they can't be helped where they were, so they have to be with us. And that's something that I bought from my grandparents' marriage, is that, you know, your family is family. You're going to be with them, whatever the case may be.
Wow.
So in this part of our lives, you know, bringing his parents into our home, I knew the challenges that I was going to go through living with them. But at the same time, I knew we also are going to provide the care that they needed at the time. And I say it all the time. I said, you know, they're going to be the death of me one day because they don't. Raising parents is hard. And sometimes they're harder than the kids.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they're so stubborn, they don't listen. And I'm just like, are you Jarrell?
Yeah.
Or are you Dad?
I heard this term. One of my coworkers used. He called his mother-in-law his teenager.
Teenager.
He's senior teenager.
Yeah.
I said, oh yeah. I said, man, you need to coin that because I'm gonna use that.
Teenager. That is beautiful. Wow.
That's his mom.
I really salute your courage, because I myself, I'm like, can I do it? I don't know if I will be able to bring my.
I prayed a lot.
I know that's a lot of work.
It is.
Yeah, but I salute you. That is very encouraging.
We prayed every time, and then I told because like he said, his dad is with us right now. They were with us for like over a year, and then they went back to their space because, you know, the older you get, you just want to be in your own space. But mommy was traveling, so daddy came back to stay with us for a little while, and the dynamics of him, his dad is very like his personality. He's solemn, he's calm, nothing gets him upset to the point where he will blow up or anything like that. But, you know, he is in his era where he has dementia. So some days it's hard. And I can see the patients have to come in because I'm just like, dude, you're like right here. Why don't you just go to the bathroom? But at the same time, he don't remember he had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I would say for those people out there, like my husband says, you know, just pick that one person in your life, because there's somebody out there that you want to model your relationship after.
Yeah.
And if you find that one spouse, you know, don't give up. At first, just keep working on it. Just keep working on it, because we're not sitting here 18 years because we didn't put in the work. We sure enough put in the work, and
we are putting in the work.
And we keep putting in the work. And I would say when your opening statement of growth, oh my God, this one over here, his growth he started down here because I felt like I had to raise him sometimes. I'm like, you're older than me, but how are you here? Like, I was the mature one most of the time, and I'm like, how are you here? But growing together has taught us so much life lessons that, I mean, I divorce has never crossed my mind, honestly, because those were one of the principles that came down to when we first started our relationship, when we decided that, hey, we were going to get married. He said to me, he was just like, we're going to go into this, and divorce is not an option. So it's not one of those words that I will easily bring up in a conversation when we have arguments or when we disagree with each other.
Now, going back to that, it's like I know couples who were married 27 years before they divorced.
Yeah.
And
30 years.
again,
30,
40.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't start out as that being an option. Well, how did it get on the table?
Exactly.
An option?
Exactly.
You know, again, like I said, if there's no abuse and there's no adultery, work through it. It could be.
Nobody plans for divorce. I think that's one of the things you
that's
said.
When I said
that we plan for everything, but we don't plan against divorce. And then we ended up seeing the divorce on the table. And I always say to myself also, this word divorce has the acronym with the devil, and it's a door. So the moment you keep bringing that word D out, the devil is going to open the door for him to come in and lead one of you out through the back door. So stop it. What you don't want to see happen in your marriage, don't throw the words carelessly around, because we believe angels are watching, and the enemy is watching also to pick this word and make sure it comes to fruition. Let's talk about children. you as a child, you saw your parents, and you pick what you want to pick. What you don't want to see happen in your relationship, you discard it. You made effort. I'm not going to be yelling and screaming like I saw my dad did, or like I saw my mom did. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Now you're raising your own kids. What are the marital value that you think you are communicating to them presently? Let me start with
I
you.
try. Let's just put it out there. I try, because there are days when I was like, I am my mother. I try. But no, honestly, I think I try to be a little bit more calmer and more respectful with my children, raising them, because there is so much this generation had, like we were having in our earlier conversation, is so much out there that they see, that they mimic, that they think they can bring to their parents. The yelling and the screaming, get out my room, like reality check. This is not your house. You know, I'm the parent, you're the child. A lot of times I find myself asking, who's the adult here? You know? But because they're this generation raising them, because they have so much information,
They do.
it makes it some days impossible to convey what you want to get out of them or what you want to convey to them. So my approach, I start with prayer every day. And I said, Lord, give me the strength to deal with whatever comes my way today, especially with the children. I said, these are the plans that I have for them. The Lord knows the plans that I have for them. So help me in whatever way that I can to provide, to convey, to retain, that they can see, always see Christ in me. And this is the attitude of Christ. So I tell my kids every day, you know, I said, I love you. This is your job for today. This is what I need you to do. And this is what you need to go out and show me that you can do. His words is always, I love you. Don't be good, be great, make wise choices. But at the same time, in the back of their head, when they come home in the afternoon, I'm the first face you see. So I'm the pickup. And I said, how was your day? I said, Lord, you know, these are the plans that I laid out for them today, that I asked for you in my prayer. So when you get in the car and I'm like, how was your day? And might not be every day, but I can guarantee you one thing that I pray for was answered that day.
What legacy will you say you in relationship to
What legacy?
marriage? Yeah. What do you think you are building as couples in the presence of your kids?
Well, I'm trying to build that example of Christ, because marriage, again, is a reflection of Christ in the church. So as we build that relationship, we want them to see love on all aspects. Love when it's not easy to love. Love when it's strenuous. Love when it's beautiful. And it's the most beautiful thing they ever seen, right? But we want them to get the full, complete picture of love.
And respect.
And respect, definitely respect. I don't think you could have love without respect. I don't think you could do it. The same way I don't believe love could be forced either. You know?
What do you mean by love cannot be forced?
I don't think you could force somebody to love you. Love is a choice. Love is a choice.
You cannot force a person to love
To
you.
love you.
Can you influence somebody to love you?
Can you influence? You can influence. You definitely could influence. If you give them the right examples, you definitely could.
So what do you say
And I
to
think-
couples who say we're falling out of love?
And fall back in. Fall back in. Fall out. Fall back in. You're gonna fall anyway. You're falling anyway. Why you choosing out? Fall in. And by that I mean fall in line. Go out on a few dates. Rediscover yourself. Rediscover what got you here in the first place. Where falling out means you were there. Why would you leave there? You know, fight to stay there. Go on a couple of days, break it down, rebuild something even more beautiful. You know, but don't fall out. Fall in. Fall in.
Because I hear that expression. Okay, so what I'm gonna say, our time is gone, but what I'm gonna say is, for me personally, I grew up with my mom, single parents kind of thing. So I really do not have father, mother, sit down together, eat, pray, do this.
Yeah.
No, but I see neighbor who I say our neighbor, mother, father there. I see their kids and stuff. I say, okay, I want my marriage to be like
that.
this
Like that,
person.
right.
I know I don't have this. I want to be able to give this to my kids. I want to be able to say, I'm not saying a perfect, but at least a healthy home. There's no abuse. There's no adultery. I mean, there's communication. Everything that makes marriage.
Yes.
There's misunderstanding. There are days where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm tired. There are days where like, this is I'm on the moon kind of thing. So what I'm asking is, you said love. You want your kids to see that love is important in a marriage relationship. What other things are you also like? What other things? Because sometimes it's not what we say, it's what they are picking from our body language, but the way we look at each other. Kids can say, "Oh, look at how mom is looking at that. Oh, I don't want to see. I don't want to see." You know, they can sense it.
I know exactly
We
where she's
had-
going,
yeah,
so I'm gonna stay over here because I know exactly where she's going. Go ahead.
Because that is it. Because our kids see it all the time, the way he treats me, the way I treat him. Jarrell knows if dad comes in the house, mommy has to have a smoochy kiss. But then at the same time, he's like, "Oh, there's kids in the room."
There's kids in the room. Do you guys have to kiss? Like this, he's looking through his. Oh, do you guys have to kiss? But you want them to see that. And I remember one of the best pieces of advice, going back to what your parents teach you, was that, hey, you want your kids to see that you love their mother. Kids need to know that you love
And the
your
same,
spouse.
your dad.
Yeah, kids need to know that you love your spouse, because that is going to play out all through life. Especially when the spouse is getting old, they don't have to decide, okay, do I choose mom or do I choose dad? Now they both need you. Well, dad wasn't really nice to mom. I wasn't cool with dad not being nice to mom, so I'm gonna distance myself from him. And you know what I mean? It creates a weird dynamic.
His favorite phrase is, a lot is more is caught than taught.
So yes, you want
More
to
is
give
caught than
than
taught.
taught.
Yes.
So they're looking, they're picking up examples. I'll give this example, and I know our time is fast spent. My son, 7 years old, was he 6 when he asked me, "Daddy, where babies come from?"
Yes.
Babies come from the Lord, man. Daddy, where babies come from? I already told you, man. Babies come from the Lord. Daddy, where babies? So the stock, right, brings. Then it's just like, answer this kid because he's asking the question. If you don't answer it, somebody's gonna give him the wrong answer.
Yeah.
So I told him. I
At
gave it to him. At 6, I gave it to him raw.
What?
Mom and dad fell in love, had sex. What is sex? Stop. This is what sex is.
At 6.
At 6. Again, they have all this information. They could probably ask Alexa.
Because he did. He
And
did.
I do not want Alexa telling my
exactly.
kid.
After you finished that conversation, he sure enough went downstairs and he went straight into the kitchen and he was like, "Alexa, how are babies made?"
It's like, I don't know why the 6-year-old needs this information, but he's persistent on having this information. And I'm going to give you the information. I'm going to give you the truth, because if I give you a lie, you're not going to trust me to tell you the truth when it's important.
And not knowing that he had the full conversation, because I heard him asking, and not knowing that he had the full conversation with him. One day he came home and we were greeting each other and he was just like, "Ew," and I was like, "How you think you got here?" Just and he was like, "Mommy, I know. Ask." And I looked at him and I was like, "What? What did you just say?" So then he was just like, "What? Daddy told me." I said, "Oh my God." And I
And she
looked at him
looked at
like,
"You told him?"
"You told
And I'm
him?"
like, "Yeah, he asked." Yes. So
So-
again, you want to leave the legacy. one of the strongest weapons. The weapons of this warfare is not carnal.
Yeah.
And one of the strongest weapons we have is truth.
Mm.
Against the technology, against all the things that's striving for, all the things the enemy is putting in the water to muddy the water.
Mm-hmm.
The strongest weapon we have is truth.
Is it truth?
It's
So
true.
we have to be truthful to each other. We have to be truthful to our kids.
Mm.
Here goes the crazy thing is, if our relationship is not real,
Mm-hmm.
if we align to ourselves, they're going to pick up on
They
it.
pick it up.
They're going to pick up on it.
They
If
do.
we're not constantly working to improve the relationship to make it better, they're going to pick up on it.
And what's gonna happen is just gonna replicate yourself.
And then they're going to take sides.
Hmm.
And that's where that's where the divide happens.
Mm.
They're gonna take sides. You don't want them to begin, even if you're still together, they're gonna take sides. They're
They
gonna
will.
like one more than the other.
Mm.
And that's where the whole tobacco could happen in their relationship.
Yeah.
They do, because
Mhm.
I
Because-
feel like sometimes our kids, we have different styles of disciplining them
Mhm.
or telling them
Parenting.
certain
Mhm.
things, and they already know. And then I will tell him what happened today, and he'll be like, no, that can't be Giselle, because he comes home and he tells her the same exact thing and she does what she's supposed to do.
Mhm.
And last Monday I was sitting in the car and she left her backpack in the car, and he drove the car to work all the way in Rockville, and I'm taking her to school, and she's like, Mommy, my backpack is in Daddy's car. And I'm like, okay, I guess you're learning without your backpack today, because I have to come back and get to work. And we get to the school, she says nothing to me, and we get to the school and I'm like, get out the car, you're at school. And she's like, oh, I'm not going to school today. I'm like, what you mean you're not going to school today? And she was just like, Mommy, I don't have my backpack. And I'm like, wow, get out my car. Mommy, I cannot learn without my materials. Get out my car. And she's in protest mode now. And I can see her anger building and my anger building. And I'm like, get out the car. So she's like, you know what? I'm not getting out this car until you tell me you're going to Rockville and get my backpack. Am I going to get my backpack later? And I'm just looking at her like, okay, first of all, who you screaming at? And we about to have a fight in this parking lot right now. But at the same time, you know, she calls her dad and she's like, Daddy, my backpack is in your car. Can I get my backpack? And he's just like, well, I can't leave Rockville to come and bring your backpack because I'm short staffed and I can't leave work right now to bring your backpack. So Mommy's going to have to come get it.
Mm.
And I'm like, we about to have an argument. Niggas like, how you gonna tell her I'm
the
going
truth
to
of
get
the matter. This is what it is. This is.
And we have
this-
to deal with
We
it.
have to deal with it. We have to deal with it at that point. So it's like,
Let me ask.
yeah.
So children will always pick sides, and teamwork is highly required from both, because what we want to see in future is want to see a healthy child
Healthy
who
child.
doesn't
Amen.
have these family
Family drama.
dramas
Yeah.
and all of those things. Because when you grow up in an environment that is filled with drama, you're going to carry the same drama into your own relationship. And if you don't deal with it, get it out of your system, it can come back to hurt you. And if you don't know that it is this drama from your background that you are carrying along with you, you're going to replicate that same thing
Yes.
in the life of your children. And what I hear is, oh, I'm in this marriage because of my children. Honey, that is true. You're in a marriage because of your children, but you're also going to produce what you are in these children, and thereby creating a generational pattern.
Yes.
Yes.
And it had to be broken at some point.
It has to
And that is the whole essence of our conversation, not your mother's marriage. When God brings you into a relationship, pick what is good from what you seen from your parent, and build on it.
Build on it. Yes.
Build on it.
Yes.
Build on it. Let the Lord help you. Look for a role model. Look for people. Have open communication. Be honest. Be patient with each other. Marriage, God instituted marriage.
Yes.
And there's a purpose for it. In the book of Malachi, it said that they may raise up godly children for
Yes.
me.
Amen.
That you, mother, you, father, may raise up godly children for God for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the book of Malachi chapter 2. So if you don't know one of the reasons for your marriage, one of the reasons for your marriage is to bring up godly children. How are you going to bring up godly children? If you are keeping malice with your wife, if you are mistreating your children, you say you're just going to be a provider, you're not going to invest your time in it, you're not going to, no, you're going to bring up children that will take after you, not after God. And that is a recycling,
Yes,
recycling,
yes, it is.
recycling stuff. That's not what God wants for you.
Amen.
Finally, let me ask, what do you guys do for fun?
Yeah.
Do we
Sleep.
do for fun?
Like, no, I'm kidding.
Again, she told you my work schedule with
Yeah.
the 2 jobs and stuff. So I love to sleep in, but I love to sleep in especially when she's in the bed. Yes.
So that's the fun thing.
Then we have our movie nights.
Good.
We have a very supportive family, so we have a very good village of aunties, uncles,
Grandmas.
aunties, grandmas, granddads who we literally give our children to every weekend.
Every weekend.
Every weekend. They want our babies. Initially, they were fighting over which parent should have.
Wow, what a blessing.
Right.
Yes.
Of course, mine got of older in age, and now their health is not good. So mostly her parent now takes them on the weekend. The aunties spend time with them on the weekend, and it gives us every Saturday night free.
Wow.
Because that's the only night
Because
we have.
I work Sunday through
Through
Friday.
Friday.
So every Saturday night we are kid free, and we could do whatever. But sometimes now, she wants to go out with her sisters, and I'm totally cool with that. It's like she goes out, they go do their thing, karaoke, whatever. Her friends might come in from out of town. I'm very comfortable being in the house by myself, just
Chilling.
catching up on my rest.
That is beautiful.
But it's even
But I prioritize fun. So even if my sisters want to go out and we have our sisters' night, or if my friends are in town, whatever it is that I do, I make sure I come home on time to just, even if it's 10 o'clock, by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, he's still up watching movies, I know, because he's not resting. I still
can
come
go to sleep
home
without her in the
and
house.
then we just chill out for those last couple hours till we fell asleep, you know? So I like to travel and do all these kind of crazy activities. I try to get him to do it sometimes, but like you said, because of his schedule, most days all we have is Saturday to hang out. But this is the growing part in our marriage, is I couldn't get him to go on vacation forever. But recently I will see that he will make an effort to say, if it's only come up for a couple of days just to be with me and the kids, he'll put that in.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So yes, so we do a little bit of vacationing, a little bit.
A little bit.
But we do mostly quality time.
Yes.
Quality time together. As we
Beautiful.
continue to, like you said, raise godly kids.
Children.
And here goes the crazy thing, is like talking about children and raising children and not abusing children. It's abuse if your children just have this little kumbaya attitude about life. Is just as much abuse as if they are in a troubled home where there's fighting all the time. Because life is not kumbaya all the time.
No.
So you're selling them a lie. And life is not toxic all the time. You also sell them a lie. So you kind of have to give your kids
A balance.
You have to balance them out. So they have to see the tense
Both.
times.
Yeah.
And they have to see how the tense times are resolved.
Pretty beautiful.
You know, but a lot of times as parents, we think the best thing to do is not fight in front of the kids, because we don't want them to see fighting. So if your kid grew up never seeing fighting, when they're in a relationship and fighting happens,
They don't know how to
they're ready
handle
to
it.
pack their bag and
And
leave.
live.
So
Beautiful.
yes, so resolve some things. Not everything, you age appropriately. Some things have to be resolved in front of the children.
Yeah.
So lastly, this is one thing I've been doing now lately, and it's somebody was like, that is so beautiful. So tell him what he means to you.
Oh my gosh.
Like, how much time do you have?
Just
No.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. Uh-huh.
Jeez, oh God, my everything, my world.
No, how could you put that in words?
I can't put it in words.
Oh, wow.
From the moment I met you, it's been Rhonda and Joel forever, and that's just how I feel. I mean, I don't care what is it that we go through, ups and downs that we have. We're a team. It's always just been team Joel and Rhonda. So
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
And I would say she just completes me. She really just does. It's like when the Bible gives you math, it doesn't make sense. So when it says the two shall become one, it's kind of like you're subtracting something, but that's an addition equation instead of a subtraction. Because it's like when we got married and we decided to be one, as we've grown in that concept of being one. We became more instead of less. But initially we started out at two. So how does two become one and be more? You know what I mean? It's beautiful. I always associate it with the zero on the number line. Why is the zero on the number line and nobody ever speaks of it? In fact, people speaks of the zero as a bad thing. But you know, when you put it to the 10th place, you realize one is so much greater with that zero. When you put it to the 100th place, is even more important. When you put it to the all the way up to the billion, you know, that zero becomes very important, you know. So it's like Bible math does not make sense. When you give your 10th, how do you get more? When you know, subtract. So it's just like, yes, when we, the two, became one, that one became stronger. Wow. And I feel like she's really a completion of myself.
Thank you so much. This is so beautiful. Very, very beautiful. Oh, well. Our time is fast spent. And I just feel like we should continue. Just feel like we should just continue talking about. I believe strongly that you have picked one or two things from this couple. It's no perfect couple, but there's a healthy relationship with healthy couples in it. They have shared their journey. They've shared their experience with us. I pray that whatsoever is happening in your marriage, that God will give you the patience. They speak about patience. That God will help you to see where you need to pick up one or two things to help your partner. They spoke also about the fact that being loving, having the true definition of love, which includes patience, tolerance, forbearing one another, perseverance, showing kindness. Love is joy. Love is God. So you want your marriage to grow and flourish. Call God into the midst.
Yes.
Call the love of God into the midst. You don't have to live the life that your parent lived. What God gave to you is for you. It's beautiful. It's important to God. All the mistakes of our parents, we don't have to repeat it. We can take what is good and build upon it, thereby handling over to our own kids something which is even much more beautiful, something which is even much more stronger, something that will last forever. Not your mother's marriage. Your marriage is your marriage, no matter the environment you grew up from. And God is always in your matter. God loves you. God cares for you. Cares for your marriage because his name is at stake. So thank you for coming.
Welcome.
Thank you
Thanks
for
having us
sharing.
again for the second.
I really enjoy talking with the two of you. It always amazes me the way you communicate. Yeah, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at the two of you. I'm looking at how the two of you are gazing at each other. I'm looking at her hands going all the time. I'm like, okay. Those are cues that is telling me that there's something flowing, something beautiful. Indeed. And I just pray that God will keep the two of you. God will keep your children. You will live long, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years, and you will still be loving each other.
Yes,
and
yes.
you will grow.
Till he comes.
Till he
That's
comes.
That's
Yes. So thank you for coming. Please share this broadcast. Follow us on Matters in Marriage on Facebook, on YouTube. God bless you until we talk again. Bye.